Tyson Fury destroys Deontay Wilder after 7 rounds last night to retain his lineal heavyweight championship. I'm going to tell you why I'm 100% against a rematch. I've got the 4 best teams in college basketball that are not in the top 5. These teams are going to be ones you're going to watch out for making up your bracket. And if I said to you 83.5 is the most important number in sports, what would you be thinking? Stay tuned. I'm going to tell you what it means. You found the best show out there that helps you to be smarter than your friends when it comes to sports. Let's get it started. Live on a Sunday, you're here joining us in the St. Jude studios. It's Ron Dahlbeck alongside Chris Roberts talking about everything going on in the world of sports live on YouTube on a Sunday night. And Chris, I want to start with the fight last night, but I'm going to hit pause real quick because I'm checking out your outfit tonight, and we're polar opposites. I mean, one of us is Deontay Wilder, and the other one is Tyson Fury. I'm kind of like going retro 70s smooth sweatcedo look, and you're going like A+ on the kicks, your Nike kicks, and then it's like laid back Sanford and Son on top.
Hey, man, Nike kicks, Nike shorts, Egyptian cotton shirt, I'm good. Let's go.
That's it.
That's it.
And on that note, let's get into everything going on in the world of sports. And it's got to start in one place last night. Deontay Wilder in the rematch against the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. 7 rounds was too much because this wasn't even close. Tyson Fury gets it done with a 7th round TKO where Deontay Wilder's management actually throws the towel into the ring with the mercy call, stopping the fight. It should have been probably stopped before then. It was absolutely one-sided. Chris and I are going to get into that and talk about who's on deck next for Tyson Fury and where does Deontay Wilder go. He's had 19 rounds with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury on my card and most cards has won 15 of those. Is anyone even interested in seeing this fight again? Anthony Joshua could be on deck. We're going to go over several options there. Looking ahead in UFC, Israel Adesanya taking on Yoel Romero coming up on March 7th. That is a super interesting fight for me. There's 2 or 3 other ones that are coming up a month after that. Chris and I will get into that. Also, we've got emails from listeners. We're going to get to those and answer all your questions that you've chimed in about. How about yesterday in college basketball? 3 out of the top 4 teams in the country go down. The only one surviving is Kansas. They go on the road to Baylor and get it done with a big win. San Diego State's dream season is over. They lose at home to a UNLV team that can't even spell basketball. How that happened, I don't know. I've been saying SDSU is a little overrated, being in the top 5 all season, and Gonzaga goes on the road to BYU. They lose. 3 out of the top 4 teams in college basketball take a dive. Chris and I are going to dive into the 4 teams that you want to watch that aren't ranked in the top 5 right now. When you're building your bracket, you're going to want to know who these teams are. How about the Astros saga just won't go away? Yesterday, they have their first spring game in West Palm Beach, Florida. They got booed, and what I think is really disgusting is the management at the stadium took away all the posters for the fans that came to the game. So now we're punishing the fans more than the Astros who actually cheated. I think that's crazy. I've definitely got opinions on that. NFL, Lions have the 3rd pick in the draft this year. They come out 2 days ago and say that they're open to trading that pick. Who's interested and who do I think moves up? Who needs to move up? Or is this just all blowing smoke? Because everybody out there knows there is no season like draft season for your nose to be growing. Everybody starts lying. How about the new CBA proposal? Cutting down the preseason, the NFL, by 1 game, adding 1 more game to the regular season to take it up to 17. This means an extra paycheck for all those guys that aren't staying around for 20 years, which is really important. Right now, the players are split. It could go to a vote as soon as Wednesday. Ben Roethlisberger coming off elbow surgery. He has started working out. full range of motion, throwing a football. I'm going to get into what the prospects look like for the Pittsburgh Steelers in their division this year. And the 76ers, Ben Simmons, their point guard, has back trouble again. He's going to be checked out by doctors. He's going to miss the next 2 games. I don't think that's the biggest problem. This comes on the heels of a 119-98 blowout loss at Milwaukee. Whatever they're trying to do there, it's not working in Philly, and I'm not surprised. I think Milwaukee is far better than them, obviously. I like Toronto, I like Boston, and I like the Heat, all better than the 76ers. One of the 76ers' biggest problems is they're 9 wins and 20 losses on the road. If you're ranked 5th, you're going to be going on the road in the first round, and you can't have that kind of record. And having said that, Chris, what is going on with you? We have a chock-full show. So much stuff to talk about in the world of sports.
Ron, I'm like you. I'm trying to catch my breath. There's so much going on in sports. What's going on with me? I'm finally relaxed. I finally got that paper turned in that stressed me out, that kept me from Wednesday's show, and I'm ready to go tonight. So let's get it.
I know you want to finish getting your master's degree, and I'm 100% behind you. But this is starting to get ridiculous how much they're asking. I mean, they're taking your money. They take your time. They take your sanity. They're taking your blood. Yeah. The next thing is your soul. And after that, there's nothing left. I'm going to be sitting here for an hour twice a week by myself.
I know, man. God, I've gotten so many gray hairs since starting grad school.
Right on
the chin and the head, too.
I thought some of those were from Kim, your daughter. Moving on in the world of sports, your master's program is stressing me out so much, I need to have a drink. So, I moved off a limoncello. I'm going to get right back on it soon.
All right.
But I'm on to this lemon-flavored vodka with cherry Coke.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my twice-a-week indulgence.
Sounds interesting.
It is interesting. It does. I wish people out there were drinking it. It would make me look like Brad Pitt after about 20 of those. Let's get into the fight last night. We watched this fight, and it wasn't even close.
No.
What's standing out to me isn't actually even really what happened last night. It's the fact that Tyson Fury, the lineal champion, taking on Deontay Wilder in Las Vegas yesterday to possibly grab the WBC championship belt from him, and that happened, was the fact that these guys have had 19 rounds in the ring. That's a pretty good sample size.
Yeah.
19 rounds. Most fights aren't even scheduled for 12 rounds. The first fight a year ago went 12 rounds in a split decision.
Right.
Nobody really technically won that fight, so Tyson Fury stays undefeated. In 19 rounds, on most professional people's sports cards that know boxing, including me, I've got Tyson Fury winning 15 or 16 of those rounds. Am I out of my mind?
No, especially looking at last night's showing. I mean, he dominated from beginning to end. If you noticed when you start watching that fight, Fury actually took the fight to Wilder, which is very uncommon when you're looking at a Wilder fight. Wilder is generally the more aggressive type of boxer.
He's waiting for that one special moment.
Exactly.
Let me stop you real quick. You would agree that in the first fight that these guys faced each other, that Tyson Fury, everybody would say he outboxed the tar out of Deontay Wilder. But Deontay Wilder caught him with 2 shots and knocked him down, not out.
Right.
Okay, so we can understand why so it was a great technical fight, which is what we thought was going to happen. You have a great technical boxer against a bomber who could come in there and put your lights out with 1 shot.
Right.
But yesterday, everything flipped. Not only was Tyson Fury the better technical boxer, but he was the one actually dropping bombs on Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, he was definitely the more power. He hit the more power shots on Wilder, and it could be because at the last fight you had Tyson Fury fighting at 250, and this fight he's fighting at 270, where Wilder actually came up and actually fought at 231, which is very
right. They both went up in weight.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting in that fight. And if you look at that fight with Tyson Fury, every time they locked up, he leaned on him and he was just wearing those legs down, digging into the body, getting headshots and whatnot. And as it went on, it just kind of wore Wilder out to me.
I think that the shot that he delivered to Wilder in the 3rd round, right off the side of his cranium, I think it busted him up, messed up his equilibrium. A lot of people were saying that after the fight, that that shot to his ear because he had blood coming out of his ear.
Yes.
In the second round, he had massive amounts of blood coming out of his lip.
Yes.
That was the first warning shot that I saw. But in the third round, he puts him down. He gets his first of 2 knockdowns in the third round. And then we start seeing a profuse amount of blood coming out of his ear. So much so that yesterday in the post interview, his Deontay Wilder's manager said, we were already concerned by the 4th round because there was so much blood coming out of his ear. I think it jacked with his equilibrium. He didn't have his legs under him. And then in the 5th round, wow. I mean, Tyson Fury caught Deontay Wilder with a right hand blow to the ribs that is probably registering on the Richter scale in California. And they were fighting in Las Vegas. Put him down for the second time. So it was power shots. It was skilled boxing. Deontay Wilder, to me, looked unprepared. He looked like he was lost. I don't know if that shot, because in the first 2 rounds, I didn't think he wasn't really showing me anything. I wasn't impressed. At the end of the 6th round, how about this for a stat? Power shots by both boxers. Tyson Fury out-power shotted him 58-18. So he's dominating on the power shots. He's out-skill boxing him. And quite frankly, I think that Deontay Wilder's best moment was the walk-in because as soon as he got in the ring, about 30 seconds into it, you could already see Tyson Fury was taking control of this boxing match. He was focused. He wasn't screwing around anymore, and he was starting to implement the plan that he had the whole time, which was to knock Deontay Wilder out in the 2nd round. He ends up getting it done in the 7th.
Yeah, and looking at Wilder, it seems like he was just waiting for that one shot to hit him with that vicious right hand of his. And as a boxer, if I fought you once and I knew that's exactly what you're doing, I'm going to be prepared for that. And that's what Tyson Fury was. He was prepared for that one shot that Wilder loves to catch people with, and he stayed away from it. And Wilder fired. It did miss him, and Fury was able to take advantage of that. And as a skilled boxer, those are the things that you have to look at. And even if you look at Wilder's footwork, his footwork was too wide of a stance when trying to make some of those punches.
But did Deontay Wilder look like he was ready for that fight, even in the first round, Chris?
No, he wasn't ready for that fight. To me, he
his
looked like
head
he was
in a different spot.
It's like I'm just gonna get in here, I'm gonna knock him out, just like I did.
He's gonna sit on that one powder keg shot that he's got, and it never came because Tyson Fury came in there and started bombing. I mean, how many times do we see him step to Deontay Wilder, lead with that right hand jab, setting up the right hand again, and a combination shot, just flick, flick, bam.
Right.
3-4 times in the first round, and there was absolutely no defense for it. I mean, Deontay Wilder, to me, looked absolutely lost. He looked unprepared. I don't know if this is an ego thing, but he did not look like he was ready to take the stage last night.
No, he looked very, very unprepared for this fight, and it's unfortunate because, as you're looking at this fight, you're thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll have it go, the full 12 rounds like it did the last fight. And when you got in there and you seen that fight, after the first round, you're like, Fury's may knock him out in the second round like he predicted.
Yeah, I would. So I thought that this was an outcome that could happen just because he's such a big guy, Fury, and he moves so well. He's got great footwork. And nobody really thinks of Deontay Wilder as an awesome defensive fighter. We know he's a one-trick pony. What is the interest out there in seeing a rematch in this? Because there is a clause in their contract that Deontay Wilder can call for a rematch within 30 days. But I got to be honest with you, I've already seen 19 rounds of these guys going round and round and round. And on my card, at least 15, if not 16 of those rounds, technical proficiency, it goes to Tyson Fury. Power-wise yesterday, he's dominant. He's better than Deontay Wilder. He can set you up for those big shots, where Deontay Wilder, I think, is waiting, and he can absorb and not have a great defensive plan, and he's waiting for his one opportunity in 12 rounds. The problem is Tyson Fury took the fight to him, and that door of opportunity never opened. So frankly, I'll just be honest, I'm not interested in seeing this a rematch. I've already seen it twice. Tyson Fury, to me, has dominated both times. He's dominated in technical proficiency and boxing skills. He's dominated in his cardio and in power. I don't have any interest. I have literally zero interest to see this fight again.
I think with this fight with Deontay Wilder, he needs to go back. He definitely needs to work on his footwork, get his footwork more tightly knit when he get ready to throw those punches. To me, he needs to get another fight in and get his confidence back up, because that fight last night, just looking at it from being in fights yourself, that fight actually it took the confidence away from this guy. You could tell his confidence was shot after the
But
first
is there
and
any
second round.
scenario that you could paint right now that leads Deontay Wilder to a path of victory over Tyson Fury? Because I mean, I can't see how he's going to beat him unless he catches him with a shot. But at this point, I think Tyson Fury is in his head. I think that Deontay Wilder's defense is super questionable. And I think his confidence level is shattered. I mean, you got to look at it and say, even if you're being objective, 14 rounds out of 19, and that's being super objective, he's gotten bombed by this guy. What's going to make him think that he can get in here and do anything against an obviously superior boxer at this point? I just don't see it happening.
Well, to be honest with you, I think Wilder needs to change up his training staff. This is something he should have done a while ago. Is change up his training staff, because when boxing is a sweet science, it is technical. You have to be able to play defense just as good as you are an offensive boxer. And to me, Wilder, he's a purely offensive boxer with that one right hand punch. And if you want to actually be a good boxer, you have to be able to change up your game. Kind of sort of like Floyd Mayweather did. Floyd Mayweather in the beginning of his career was known as a knockout boxer. But as he gotten older and progressed in his career, he became more of a defensive boxer, where it's more about scoring points and not taking the big heavy shots. And that's what Wilder has to learn how to do.
Let's talk about what is on deck for both of these fighters. And let's start with Tyson Fury. I mean, the world is his oyster at this point. But what is going for him? I think it's all about his heritage. I think it's all about his lineage and what he's going to leave as far as a stamp on this sport. Right now, I would love to see him go up against Anthony Joshua. This is a big. I think Anthony Joshua is the prime fight that I think the public wants to see. I would love to see it. It's the most compelling fight that's out there. I don't know. If you polled 100 people that saw both of these fights, I'd be hard-pressed to think 20 of them want to see a rematch, and I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. But I think Anthony Joshua, coming off of his rematch win against Andy Ruiz Jr. in Riyadh over in Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, I think that he and Tyson Fury make a match for September, maybe late September. I'm not interested in this other rematch. I think Anthony Joshua is the next step for Fury. Here's the problem. Anthony Joshua holds the IBF, the WBO, the WBA, and the IBO belts. For some reason at heavyweight, there's 4 belts out there that he holds. And you know what? I went and did some research on this. The IBF was only founded in 1983, and it's listed as a nonprofit. Now, what part of boxing, in any shape, form, capacity, is nonprofit? I mean, the whole thing is like shady, and everything about it is for profit. He holds the WBO, founded in 1988. So we're going the wrong way here. He holds the WBA heavyweight championship, which is the most legitimate one. It's been around since 1921. He also holds the IBO, which is founded as a nonprofit in 1988. Nonprofits. So he's got 3 what I would consider phantom belts that I really don't care about. This is what the problem is in boxing. Most boxing fans don't know the difference between the IBF, the WBC, the WBO, the WBA, the IBO, the linear champion, and that's just in the heavyweight division. That's 6 titles, belts, whatever you want to call it, that are out there from different organizations. Why don't we just unify this down to one organization? And I'm voting for WBA, that's been around the longest. And we just say, look, you got a belt. It's this. This is it. Didn't Donald Trump actually at one point have a belt out there, a heavyweight championship belt that people were? It's ridiculous. This is what is robbing the fans of real entertainment, is because there's so much confusion in boxing with all the belts, with all the divisions. I bet you if I said who are the top 5 contenders in welterweight right now or the champion,
nobody would never know.
Nobody would know, because you got 7 belts out there. So who are you talking about? It's just confusing. And we haven't even gotten into the corruption aspect of it.
And look, and those belts remind me of watching WWF back in the day, where you had the World Championship, you had the International Championship,
Yeah, the Intercontinental
Championship, you had the the U.S. United States Champion. I mean, Yeah, they need to unify that and get to one belt. I mean, that's getting cartoonish now.
Okay, so you brought in WWF, which, when I was a kid, I watched some of it. I don't want to age myself. But my favorite WWF guy was the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion of the world. Yeah, I'm talking about Randy Macho Man Savage. Yeah, the cream rises to the top. Yeah, let me tell you something, Mean Gene Okerlund, right now. I'm going to get in that ring, and I'm going to go over to Hulk Hogan and all those little Hulkamaniacs, and I'm going to tear his head off.
Yeah, man. That's a good Macho Man.
Snap into a Slim Jim, yeah.
That's a good one, man.
All right. Once in a while in the first round, I'll throw in an imitation, and we're going to make imitations great again. It's going to be incredible. I'm getting the look here from Ray Boom Boom just shaking his head. He's like, can't we just get Bernie inside of a Tesla inside the White House? I know that's what you're Ray, talk to me, right? You're a Bernie guy, right? No comment. I'll comment for you. I love Bernie Sanders because he's going to give us everything for free. It's going to be amazing. All right, back to... No, I'm not going politics. I am a most non-political person, believe me. So... what's up for next for Deontay Wilder? I've got a couple names to throw at you. What about Dillian White? He is the WBC. He has some belt. He's the WBC interim champ, but he's a big, powerful guy. I think he could take a punch. He's 27-1 right now. I think this would be, if you want to call it a good re-tune-up fight for Wilder, get his confidence back in there, he's got to hone his skills. If he doesn't get any better than he is now, he cannot hang in the ring with Anthony Joshua. You would agree with that?
Right.
Can't hang with Tyson Fury. Can't do it.
Right.
He's got to change up something. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope out of the top 10 for him. So I think that could be a possibility. I'm going to throw one out that's way off the radar. The number 7 WBA contender, Alexander Povetkin, 35-2. He's got 24 by knockouts. Another guy that's got, a hard granite chin. He can land a punch. He's got skills. He's not brand new to the scene. He's been around for a couple years. I think that would be another good tune-up fight for Deontay Wilder. But where does Wilder go from here? He's got to have somebody in his camp that can sit him down and say, look, bro, I love you, but it's not working. We don't want the rematch. This is going to be a broken record if you step in there again in the next 6 months. If we don't tune stuff up, and I just don't think it's enough time, I'm hoping somebody sits down and talks sense to him and talks him out of the rematch. Where do you think he's going from here?
If I'm Wilder, I'm looking for a tune-up match. I mean, that fight was just embarrassing last night. Even if you go back to the last fight and you just look at his feet work. But
wait a minute, you're giving me advice as a sane individual that didn't get your head caved in last night. Get me in the head of Deontay Wilder? Is he smart enough? Does he have enough people around him that actually care about his future and are not doing this as a money grab to sit him down in a corner and say, look, bro, can't do it. Cannot get back in the ring with that man. He is bad. He has dominated you. And until you get your skills fixed and get your confidence back, we can't do it. Give me his perspective, not yours.
Well, if it was me and I'm Deontay Wilder, I'll go ahead and I'll take the fight.
The rematch?
Not the rematch with Fury. No, not right now. Anyway,
you think Deontay Wilder will turn down the chance for a rematch with Tyson Fury? Because I
think ego-wise, he's not going to turn it down.
Right. I don't think he's smart enough to get out of his own way.
Right. Ego-wise, no. If Fury's like, okay, I'm ready to fight tomorrow, I believe he'll be ready to jump in the ring tomorrow and fight tomorrow. And to me, that'll be a mistake. That'll be a mistake.
I mean, that is just lobotomy successful.
Yes.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. We'll put a pin in that one and leave it where it is. Let's talk about upcoming fights that we are looking forward to. UFC 248 coming up. I am really excited. I am so pumped for this fight. Yeah. Israel Adesanya against Yoel Romero, April 7th in Las Vegas. I cannot wait for this. You got a guy that is fast, he's super skilled, he's young, and he's hungry. And then you got Yoel Romero, who is probably mentally challenged but doesn't care. Right. And he's just a wild man who's built like a brick house, has an iron chin, has the heart of a champion, and he can land a punch. I mean, it's absolutely so. Two guys at the top of their game, which I love to see. I keep saying this. This is how UFC keeps nailing it. They give us the fights of guys that we want to see fighting while they're in their prime. I'm not waiting 6 and 7 years to see Manny Pacquiao get in the ring against Floyd Mayweather when they're both going to bocce ball on Wednesday and playing, at the Jewish Community Center, collecting their AARP cards and Social Security. We're way too old, waited way too long for that fight. This is why UFC are the apex predators in sports entertainment right now, because they give us the fights that we want to see with guys who are at the top of their game. These guys are both at the top of their game, contrasting fighters. I couldn't be more excited to see this fight.
Yeah, me either. I'm looking at Israel Adesanya. I mean, you just go down some of the list. I mean, that this guy has beaten. I mean, the first major thing. I mean, look, he beat up Anderson Silva.
I think he was a little past the prime.
He was past his prime,
but long in the tooth.
He's a little long in the tooth, but it's still, I mean,
legend.
The name, he's a legend.
I know. He wasn't getting him at his prime, though.
Yeah, and so, I mean, but even if you look at that, you look at these two fighters, they both are good, have good power. They both have great agility. They can beat you up ground and pound or submit you, or they could just beat you up in strikes and kicks. I mean, so you look at these two guys, and to me, it's going to be an excellent fight.
How about 19-4 Tyrone Woodley taking on Leon Edwards March 21st at 170 pounds? Yeah. I think this is absolutely a must win for Tyrone Woodley. Yeah. If he doesn't win this fight, he's looking at 19-5, and his career's going on the slippery slope with Deontay Wilder. This is an absolute happen fight. And for Leon Edwards right now, I think he's the fighter on the rise. So they both have something to fight for. I don't want to believe that Tyrone Woodley's best is in the rearview mirror. I'd like to see him come out and have an awesome fight, even if he doesn't win the fight, just to see where he's at skill-wise level. This isn't reaching the level of anticipation as the fight that we just talked about with Yoel Romero and Israel Adesanya, but I'm still interested to see that one happen. And then we get at 155, March 21st, Tony Ferguson taking up Khabib. This one, I think Tony Ferguson has the heart of a champion, but I skill-wise right now, Khabib is at the top of his game. He's not going up to 170. He's right in that sweet spot that he likes at 155. I think this is going to be a killer matchup at the Barclays Arena in Brooklyn, New York. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Khabib, and this guy's just dominant. He's dominant. I mean, I haven't seen a guy this dominant in a while. I mean, this guy could literally just beat you up and then submit you like 2 seconds later just because
he can just take his time and beat you how he wants to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He just picks his shots and he beats you any way he can. So I mean, this guy to me is probably pound for pound one of the greatest fighters in UFC right now.
Chris and I have tons of opinions on tons of subjects right now, but we're encouraging you to be a part of the show. You can join us on Super Chat every Wednesday and Sunday, like right now when we're doing live shows. Also, follow us on Twitter at @TheFirstRound1. Good Twitter follow. And email the show with questions or comments at thefirstraundrd@gmail.com. Honda Diehard at WPT writes in and says, in the AP Top 10, who is the most overrated team? I know he's talking about college basketball right now. If I'm looking at the top 10, I'm going with Penn State. And it's hard to say that somebody in the top 10 is overrated. But looking at their schedule, they have a loss to Ole Miss, to Rutgers, to Wisconsin. None of these teams are even ranked. Their best win is against number 21 Ohio State. Looking here, Illinois, they lost to them, not ranked. Indiana took a loss there. They've got Rutgers, Iowa, Michigan State, and Northwestern. I know that they play in the Big Ten, and according to Joe Lunardi and the rest of the ESPN college basketball analysts, the Big Ten has 10 teams right now. They're going to get into the tournament. So if you had to put a team that would be most overrated in the top 10, I would say right now it's Penn State, but I still think Penn State's a solid team.
Wait a minute. So you didn't go with San Diego State as the most overrated team in the top 10?
I think that they've dominated the teams that they have in front of them.
But
if San Diego State played Penn State, who would win?
Penn State.
Get the hell out of here.
I don't know.
What are you drinking?
What are you drinking? I mean, you've been clowning San Diego State for majority of the whole season you clown San Diego State.
I'm not clowning San Diego
all of
State.
us-
I don't think they deserve to be in the top 5, even as an undefeated team. But that's not clowning them. They're still a solid team. They beat Iowa, who's also Iowa's a top 20 team who also plays in a really tough division, like the Big Ten. That's the best division in the best conference right now in college basketball. So I'm not saying that Penn State is a joke, but when any team in the top 10, to call any of them overrated is kind of hard. I wouldn't put I think SDSU plays Penn State 6 times or 7 times. They win 4 of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't think they deserve to be in the top 5. And that was when they were undefeated. I didn't think that. Now, how far is that rock going to drop after they lost yesterday?
The world may never know.
We're going to know tomorrow. Because Kansas is going to be number 1 and San Diego State is going to be falling like a bomb out of the Enola Gay, buddy.
Probably drop to 9.
9?
Yeah,
They're going to be in the top 10.
Probably drop to 9. I mean, it's a 1 loss.
Honda Die Hard at WPT, thank you for chiming in with your questions. Again, you can get a hold of us here through email at thefirstrroundrd@gmail.com. I saw the most amazing thing yesterday, Chris.
What was that?
I saw an 84-year-old woman at the Ole Miss basketball game have a chance to take a golf ball, put it on the hardcore floor, use a putter, and putt it the whole distance of the court, 94 feet, into a square that big to win a car. And there it is right there. Check it out. That sucker is going about 100 miles an hour right in the hole. In the hole. Check it out. 84-year-old Mary Ann from Oxford, Mississippi wins herself a car, and the crowd goes wild. Oh, my gosh. That was so amazing, man. We had to put that clip up here in the first round. That lady at 84 sunk a 94-foot putt to win herself a brand new car. You and I would agree that we're in probably much better shape than her, and she went out there and sunk that shot. I say 2 thumbs up to her.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up to her. Tiger, you might want to call her and let her teach you how to putt, buddy.
Okay, so we just went into the psychotic portion of the show.
94 foot, I mean, that's...
I know, it's so freakish.
Exactly.
I'm going to finish off my drink to Mary Ann. Good for her.
Good gracious.
Having said that, we want to thank all of our new subscribers out there. A couple weeks ago, we went over 500. Thank you so much. Give a shout out to Arrow Properties and Apartments in Gainesville, specifically to Steve and Georgina. You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining the family. Tell all your friends about the first round. Help grow us to epic proportions. And keeping with the theme of basketball and golf, minus the golf part, gets it done. Beating the number 1 ranked Baylor Bears. San Diego State loses. Baylor number 1 loses at home. Gonzaga goes on the road to BYU. All 3 out of the 4 top teams in the country lose yesterday.
Yeah, well, it's actually not shocking looking at college basketball this whole season. I mean, really, this season has been a parody. I mean, who would have ever thought that you wouldn't have Carolina in the top 10? I mean, and they're perennial for being there. Who would have ever thought that the number 1s would actually lose? That this many consecutive number 1s will actually go down in a season.
I think there's 13 teams or 14 teams that in week 1 of the rankings in college basketball were ranked in the top 25 that aren't there now. One of the biggest ones is Michigan State.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe a Tom Izzo team is not in the top 25 right now, but they're not. And here's the amazing thing. It's just like college football. As you get closer to the end of the season, you would think the cream would rise to the top, and they want to position themselves for a higher seed in the tournament. This is when you start seeing all the upsets.
Well, yeah, I mean, with like a team like Michigan State, they just have offensive problems. Defensively, they're still there, and that still makes them a threat when it gets down to the tournament.
Let's talk about who will be the number 1 team in the country on Monday, and that's going to be the Kansas Jayhawks. Bill Self doing a great job there. I got to talk about one of the best tandems, I think, in college basketball. Devon Dotson and Udoka Azubuike. I think he is one of the biggest, best power forwards, centers prospects for the NBA right now in college basketball. I mean, I put him up there with Obi Toppin from Dayton, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, one of my rising stars in college basketball. I think both these guys have got Kansas positioned for a number 1 seed. I think they make a deep run. I think as far as a tandem, when you get 2 guys on the same team, they've got to be in the top 5 of the whole country right now. Both super talented. And their play on the court, I think, is making a lot of people forget about the whole debacle against Kansas State that happened earlier this year, because they're performing at such a high level. And to go on the road yesterday with College Game Day at Baylor, knock off the number 1 team, they were getting 3 points as the number 3 team in the country. And they get it done, knock off Baylor. Tomorrow, I think they'll be ranked number 1.
No, I mean, they should be ranked number 1. I mean, they're ranked in the top 5. And then on top of that, you go into Baylor and knock Baylor off. I mean, that in itself is number 1 worthy.
I think so. So let's talk about San Diego State, who my dad loves all of a sudden, and not UCLA. It's just like who's winning at this point is who he's going to follow. Right. But I haven't been clowning them. Give me 1 sec. Oh, it's hot in the studio today. I haven't been clowning them. I just thought they were overrated, which is, a reasonable thing. And yesterday, the streak ends at home against UNLV. Now, here's the deal. About a year ago, I was in San Diego, and I went to a game with the Aztecs, and they were playing USD, University of San Diego. And at that point, there were still a lot of questions circling around head coach Brian Dutcher, who took over for Steve Fisher, a legend at San Diego State, turned them around, put them on the map, did the same thing at Michigan. Didn't put them on the map, but had a really great winning tradition. And I was watching that game against USD a year ago, and the Aztecs lost the game. They couldn't find their way over half court half the time. They were making tons of mistakes. A bunch of their players fouled out. It was ridiculous. And I said, you know what? This guy, Brian Dutcher's got 3 years, maybe, and he's gone. And I was so wrong about that. They have had an excellent season. I don't think that loss at home to UNLV is a blemish on their record at all. Everybody has freak losses. We can go back to Duke in the last 10 days. They get beat by NC State. Mike Krzyzewski is one of the best coaches of all time. Freak losses happen to good teams. Nobody goes undefeated, very rarely. I still think that they're on pace for a good season, probably win their conference. And how about Gonzaga head coach Mark Few? I think they have a collection of great players there. What I think Gonzaga is lacking though, is I don't think Gonzaga has a game changer. I don't think they have that Michael Jordan there that they can hand that ball to when you're down by 5 with a minute left to go, and you know you can count on a couple threes or taking it to the hole. Other than that, I think Gonzaga is solid also.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you have a team like that, it reminds me of Virginia from last year. Virginia didn't have a superstar, but they had a collection of players who were fundamentally sound that could each, make the big shot when the shot is needed. And so I think, if, with Gonzaga being in that same mold and that type of mindset, that in itself can carry them on in the tournament.
Let's talk about a couple teams that are on the bubble right now with the conference tournaments coming up, and March Madness is right around the corner. I've got Stanford, Arkansas, NC State, and Richmond on the bubble. I want to talk about Richmond. They're 20-7, but they've got – here's the problem. Their losses are all to – really good teams. Lost to Bama, Auburn, Dayton, VCU, and St. Louis, the Billikens. Those are and they just came off a loss to the Bonnies this week, 2 days ago. They lost to St. Bonaventure. So out of their 7 losses, 6 of them are against quality teams. They're 20-7 overall, and the conference that they're in, 8 of those teams have at least 16 wins. I think Richmond gets in. NC State, I know everybody's going to say they're in the ACC, but the ACC is down. And if you think I'm wrong, go look at North Carolina. Okay? There isn't a searchlight big enough to light up the basement that they're in right now. I think they're, 3-14 in ACC play? The ACC is not what the ACC has been in past years. We got to judge them on what they're doing this year. I think NC State is out. I like Arkansas. Stanford, to me, is truly a bubble team, because I think they're solid. They're 17-10 record, but they play in the Pac-10. I don't like the Pac-10 as far as strength of schedule. I don't think there's a lot of tough teams out there. To me, those are my 4 bubble teams. Stanford is really on the bubble. Arkansas I put in. NC State out. Richmond Spiders I put in.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But you also, again, you have to look at NC State's their win. I mean, the teams like NC State, they win those surprising games like the games against Duke. And this year, with Carolina being down, not only did they beat Carolina yesterday, but they blew the doors off of them yesterday. I mean, they were beating Carolina by 20 points.
I know, but I'm gonna penalize them because the ACC isn't that great, and most of their games are against ACC teams. And I mean, who they got a quality win over? Duke. Right. Where's their other quality wins? I don't see them. You got to show me something. I don't know what their RPI number is right now, but as far as I'm concerned, you got to have quality wins if you're in a down conference. The ACC is down this year. I think they're out. I got Stanford on the bubble, Arkansas in, NC State out, and Richmond in. Let's talk about 4 teams that we love in the tournament right now that are not ranked in the top 5. I'm going to get mine started with number 17 ranked in the AP poll, West Virginia. I love West Virginia. They've got a quality coach in Bob Huggins, who's been around.
Right.
They've got big guys at forward and center that can rebound and shoot from the outside, and they play like a team. Right. West Virginia is one of my teams to watch in the tournament that's not ranked in the top 5.
Well, mine, I'm going to go with a surprise one we talked about it earlier. Michigan State. Michigan State is another team. They're good defensively. They actually rank third in rebounds and actually third in points. They actually rank third in opponents' points. In points per game. So that's a good ranking, and they rank. With those type of rankings, those type of defensive stats, that is what's going to really matter when it comes down to tournament play. It's how well you play defense. Although, again, they are offensively challenged this year, which is
big time.
They're big time. But that's what Tom Izzo's known for. His teams are known for hardcore defense, and that is what's going to get him done in the tournament.
West Virginia has big wins this year against Wichita State, Ohio State, and Texas Tech. Last time I checked, Texas Tech was in the championship game last year, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're a quality team. My number 2 team out of 4 that I like is Kentucky. They've got wins against Michigan State, Louisville, a top 10 team, Texas Tech, LSU, and Florida. I think Kentucky is getting hot at the right time. I think they got young players, and everybody can argue that's a team that's created with a bunch of one-and-done guys. John Calipari is a top-flight coach. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. I think he takes one-and-done guys and wins championships with them. He's been to how many Final Four appearances in the past 10 years, 20 years? So I like them. I think they're peaking at the right time. They have the right amount of talent. They have a great coach. They're one of the teams outside the top 5 that I'm going to be moving up in my brackets come March Madness.
Well, the next time I'm going to take Auburn. I mean, Auburn, has had a fairly decent season under Bruce Pearl.
Right.
They've beaten Alabama.
Hasn't Bruce Pearl done a great job there?
I mean, yeah. When you look at what
did Auburn, he have?
Right.
Before what was Auburn before he got there? They couldn't spit in a barrel 5 feet away from him.
Yeah, they were basically a bottom feeder in the SEC. So they've beaten Alabama. I mean they had that freakish loss to Florida, which still
that was a blowout. But like we said, every good team has freakish losses.
Right. So on top of that, but you look at their 3-point percentage. I mean, the guys are excellent 3-point shooters. They have players. They have a freshman that can take you off the dribble to get you into. They can get into the lane and actually do a lot of scoring. So I like Auburn. I like Auburn in the tournament as well.
Okay, how about number 20, Iowa? Okay. You want to go way off the radar with them. I think they're a good team. I think they've got good chemistry. And they've got a 6'11" senior center, Luka Garza. This guy could shoot from 3. He can pass. He can rebound. He's intelligent. I think Iowa's flying way under the radar. I'm looking at them as like maybe a 4 seed right now going into the tournament or a 5. And I see them going a long way. If I'm looking off the radar teams that aren't obvious, I'm taking Iowa at 20 right now, ranked in the AP. I just think they're a super solid team. I like teams. They got a really good point guard. That's a big thing when the tournament comes around. but Luka Garza is up for the player of the year right now. And when you got a big man that can not only rebound, but play smart and hit a three if you need it, stretch that defense out to the 3-point line, it's like McDonald's, baby. I'm loving it.
Yeah, okay, my number 3 team.
You just moved on from that, huh?
Yeah, my number 3 team, I generally don't do this, so I'm hoping I'm not jinxing them. It's Florida State this year. Not only are they...
Get out of here. Why are you taking Florida State's
they're
been ranked.
20-3.
I know, but they're up there. That's not a Cinderella.
They're not in the top 5 teams.
What are they, 6?
No, they're not.
What are they, 7?
They're actually 8.
Okay, they're 8.
Exactly. Top 5.
But you would agree they're a super solid team this year.
They are a super solid team this year. They're 20-3.
Right.
They got a quality win over Louisville. They played
who they're
Duke,
playing this week.
They played Duke close. Actually avenged the win against Pitt this week. And so, this year about this Florida State team is not only are they deep, but, their bench is actually coming in and actually scoring a lot of points. And so, Leonard Helms actually seems like he finally got things fixed and rolling the way it should be looking this year.
You are the ultimate Florida State homer.
No,
the ultimate Florida State homer.
I am not the
I call it like
Florida
it is with
State.
the Gators, man.
I'm not the ultimate, but the Gators aren't 20-3.
They're not. I'm not
Exactly.
and I'm not talking about
exactly.
them.
So I can talk about
the Gators
Florida
are going to
State.
make the tournament. You'd agree with that, right? Yeah, they're going to make. There'd be like a 10 seed. I'm not talking about them. Let me finish up my top 4. I got number 16, Oregon. I'm going way out, so I'm taking teams that are 16, 20, 18. Oregon, Peyton Pritchard. You ever heard of him?
No.
Yeah, he's one of the best point guards in college basketball. He's 6'2". He averages 20 points a game. What I really like is he averages 36 minutes a game. He does not foul out. He is good defensively. He's good for 20 points a game. That's 25 to 30% of their offense right there. He is super smart. And what do you want more than anything else when you hit the tournament? A point guard. You want a guy that can handle the team and run the whole show. This guy can do it. I think he's on pace to play more minutes than anybody else in NCAA college history.
Really?
Yep, I'm not joking around. Peyton Pritchard, 6'2", point guard from Oregon. Oregon, I'm telling you right now, Oregon, watch it. They got big men. They're a super good team. They're well coached. They have a great point guard. He can score. He's in the game all the time. He's a good free throw shooter. He shoots 40% from the three-point line. Oregon is not a joke, man. Out of the Pac-10, if you got to pick a team, I put Oregon right there with anybody. They could take the Pepsi Challenge with me today.
Yeah, and so, my final team that I'm going to go with is actually they've definitely fallen in the ACC, but they're still a quality team, and that's Louisville. Louisville was actually ranked number 1 this year.
You're taking all these teams in the top 10.
Louisville is not in the top 10, Ron. Louisville is actually number 15.
15?
Yes.
Okay,
Louisville
go ahead. No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm taking Louisville as that sleeper team that's in the ACC that's actually ranked 3rd in the ACC behind Florida State and Duke. And so, I'm looking for Louisville to actually get into the tournament and actually make a run because they are a solid quality team.
They are a solid quality team.
Yes.
They made me some money this week, and I'm happy about that. But let me see. Florida State, you're right. Florida State's at 8. Louisville's at 11. I don't know what you're looking at. 11.
Okay, well,
you're hovering around that,
but they
5 to 10, 11 range with your teams. I'm out there in the, taking some chances with some Cinderellas. We'll see how it pans out. Look, nobody's talking about West Virginia.
No.
I think they're a solid team. Their record doesn't absolutely show it, but I still think they're solid. Chris and Ron here in the St. Jude studios talking about everything in the world of sports. We want to take a break for a minute. Please do not change that channel right now. Check out this message from St. Jude. We are so glad to be on the team with them. It's a 1-minute message. Check this out.
It took me a long time to be able to say Chandler has cancer because that is such a scary word. And all you want is your child to survive that.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is leading the way the world understands, treats, and defeats childhood cancer.
When St. Jude finds something that works well with a certain cancer, they share that with everybody.
Support from the Humble Bundle community brings St. Jude closer to a day when no child dies from cancer. The average cost to treat childhood cancer is almost $500,000 per patient. At St. Jude, families never receive a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because all a family should worry about is helping their child live.
And knowing that we don't have to pay for all of the medical expenses, that's huge. We just have to worry about helping Chandler, and he's just my heart.
To the entire Humble Bundle community, thank you for supporting the St. Jude mission, finding cures, saving children.
We love St. Jude and everything they do. That last part there is the part that really got Chris and I right in the heart, where families are paid to make it there to St. Jude in Memphis, to their hospital. They're paid for their transportation. They're put up in a home. They never have to pay anything for the care that they receive. And on top of that, they're given food. They get a stipend for food to pay for their whole family to come up there. It is such a great organization. That's why Chris and I are so proud to have been a part of their team, be a part of their team. We love St. Jude, and we love broadcasting every Wednesday and Sunday right here in the St. Jude studios. Chris, moving on to Major League Baseball, the Houston Astros story just absolutely will not go away, this cheating scandal. It has reached a point where some of the former Astros and current Astros players that were involved in this scandal are talking about getting death threats at this point, which I think is ridiculous. They played their first game yesterday, spring training game, in West Palm Beach yesterday against the team they faced in the World Series last year, the Washington Nationals. And some of the fans obviously brought signs to protest. I saw one guy, it was so cool. His sign said Houston, and then it had in the color of the Astros an asterisk.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the bad part about it is the management at the stadium took all these people's signs away and wouldn't let them bring signs. So we're only allowed to bring signs that the management of the stadium happens to agree with. I mean, I don't want to go all first, constitutional amendment and everything about, how we have the right to free speech, but that's getting a little ridiculous. And what gets me even more than that, Chris, is it kind of smacks me that these are good, hardworking Americans that pay good earned dollars to go and cheer or boo or express themselves or dance with the Philly Fanatic or whatever they want to do while they're, within reason. And because they have posters there that aren't out of taste, they just happen to be talking about the scandal that the Astros created in the first place, that management has them penalize those people and those fans more than the actual players that cheated. I don't want to get started on this, but my BP is kind of already going up. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Rob Manfred.
I know. You want to talk about botching the whole thing.
My guy, if you really want to make up for your botching of just saying a piece of metal last week, stop those guys from doing that. Astros, you got to take your pennies, man. You guys messed up.
They do, but how does Rob Manfred fix this after you screw it up so bad from the word go?
Hey, he makes that phone call. Hey, gives those signs back. Do not ban those signs. I mean, because...
No, it's got to go past the signs of people protesting.
But no, I mean...
How does he fix the overall problem?
Again, to fix that overall problem with the Astros?
Yeah, with the Astros, because I think it's been screwed up since the word go.
I got the perfect idea.
Okay, I'm listening.
You take the trophy, take their rings, make them send all of their rings back. And what you do is you take the rings and the trophies and you put them in Canton. You put them in the Hall of Fame. As what not to do, what we're not going to accept.
You know what? That's the best idea you've had since we started this show.
And there you go. And that's how you do that.
Ray, get a graphic up there where you can throw some confetti on Chris. That is the best idea that you've had since we have sat down in this studio.
And that's how you get rid of that. That's how you handle that problem.
I think you're absolutely right. You build a little wing. You know the cool thing about the Hall of Fame up there in Cooperstown, and I've been there a couple times, is every 2 or 3 months, 20% of everything that you see in there gets rotated around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when you go there today,
right?
If you go there in 5 months, 20% of it will be different displays. They're constantly putting out stuff out there that's new. Right. And one of the coolest things I ever saw, not to get completely off the track, was they have a display box about as big as my desk, and they have every championship ring that has ever been won by a World Series champion in order. And I just thought that was so absolutely cool.
Yeah, it is.
I have so many cool stories about the Hall of Fame just being there. One of these days when we're doing our next show or something, ask me about it. Real quick, I talked at the top of the show why 83.5 would be one of the most important numbers in sports this year. Do you know what that correlates to, Chris? 83.5.
83.5.
You got 3 seconds.
The only thing I think about is like is baseball.
It's a baseball statistic. Yeah, it's the number of hit batters that Las Vegas has set at the betting line. Will 83.5 batters get hit by opposing teams, Astros players? So will there be 83 and a half, more than 83 and a half or less than 83 and a half hit players in Major League Baseball this year being Astros? How much are they going to get thrown at? I thought that was a fascinating number that Vegas set.
That's a fascinating number, but I to be honest with you, I think it's going to be lower than that, simply because
that's one every other game.
Yeah, I know, but
I think that's going to happen every game probably for a while.
I think it's going to be lower than that simply because Rob Manfred is coming out
and
basically saying, if you throw at these guys, we're going to penalize you more than the average.
You know what? You might be right.
And so more than that, the average penalty with that. So if a pitcher, if you're throwing at these guys, I mean, as a baseball team, you can't afford to lose your ace. You can't afford to lose your pitcher. So,
you know what? You have a good point there. Let's go to the NFL news. Lions come out this week. They have the 3rd pick in the draft. They say they're open to trading this draft. I think this is a bunch of garbage. There's a bunch of stupid stories out there about them keeping that pick at 3 and taking Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama. I think that is the most galactically stupid thing that I can't even... I mean, that belongs on the Geico commercial with, you have potential and you have potential. And Pinocchio's nose is just getting longer and longer. And as far as this whole story, there is no potential. Kind of sounds like Elmo, right?
Yeah.
If Elmo wouldn't trade out that pick, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, so it's a day of impersonations and maybe not good ones. But why are they going to get rid of Matthew Stafford 3 years after they gave him over $100 million? And it's not like Matthew Stafford is the whole problem there. I think Matt Patricia, the head coach, and is going into his 3rd year now, has got way more other holes to fill. What are you going to do with Matthew Stafford if you take Tua at 3? I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. And I am telling you from on high, I know Miami is not moving out of that 5th spot, and at 5, they're taking Tua Tagovailoa. Watch it happen. I don't see them trading this 3rd pick. To who? Who are they going to trade it to?
I don't know, but if that pick is viable to be traded, and I'm Detroit, I'm looking to do so. I'm looking to trade it and try to get me a couple of get me a couple more first rounds, or even a couple more second rounds.
Right, and that I could go along with. But getting rid of Matthew Stafford now to draft Tua Tagovailoa, who is a rookie. Rookies never do good in the NFL. Especially at quarterback, they need a year to sit, and then they start taking off. 2, he's been injured multiple times with both ankles. Now he has a hip problem. Nobody knows if he's 100%. 3, he's about as tall as a thimble. I mean, stop me when it starts getting stupid. You got Matthew Stafford there. Matthew Stafford can manage you into the playoffs. You got to get other weapons around him. I think this story is stupid and crazy. Moving on in the NFL, the Players Association and owners get together, trying to put together a new collective bargaining agreement that states that the preseason will go from 4 games down to 3. I love that. They will add 1 game to the regular season and make it 17. I would like to see them add another bye. So every team gets 2 byes, and they can't be within the same month. So you got to have 4 weeks off in between it. So there'd be a 5-week separation. I think that's a good idea. For most of the players in the NFL, this means an extra paycheck. And most of the guys aren't going to be like Tom Brady and Brett Favre that stick around for 9 million years, are married to supermodels, and are worth close to $1 billion. So that extra paycheck is going to go a long way for guys that in the NFL, the average life expectancy is less than 4 years. I think this is a great idea, but right now, all reports say that the players are split on this idea, and it could go to a vote as soon as Wednesday.
Yeah, on the players, I'll be split on this idea too, because not only is this 17th game, it's 17 games. It expand, there's also talking about expanding the playoffs as well and having more teams into the playoffs. And then on top of that, that 17 game has a cap on the actual pay. So the cap is $250,000. So if I'm a player of a higher caliber, I'm not worried about $250,000.
you're playing the same amount of games and you're getting extra pay for it. So you're not playing in a meaningless, stupid game that you could get hurt in the preseason and wipe out your whole contract. It's actually a game where you're going to get paid. So they're not adding more work, but they are adding more pay. And if you're going to give me 2 buys, I love that idea. I think it's a slam dunk.
Again, if you're going to give 2 buys. Yes.
Right. Also in the NFL news, Ben Roethlisberger coming back from elbow surgery, started his rehab this week. If he comes back and is in anywhere the shape that he was before Mason Rudolph took over, and he's 70% of the Ben that he's been in his career, I think they're going to challenge. I think they're going to be second in that division. I love Juju Schuster. What I think they need to do is they've still got to find a way to replace Ryan Shazier at linebacker. I love the pickup of Mika Fitzpatrick, who they got from the Miami Dolphins for a bag of magic beans, basically. And James Conner, I love the guy. He overcame cancer, but it is not panning out. They need a solid running back. They haven't replaced Le'Veon Bell as far as I'm concerned, but I've still got them second in that division. Lastly, in the NBA, Ben Simmons from the 76ers, scheduled for more tests on his back. Trust the process is over. I am done. If I'm a Philadelphia 76er fan, I am using expletives at this point, which I never do. But I would be really seriously teed off right now. They do have no hope of winning the Eastern Conference, let alone making it to the Eastern Conference Finals in my book. Milwaukee just blew them out 119-98. Milwaukee is light years ahead of where Philly is. I think Boston is light years ahead. I think Toronto is light years ahead. How about Toronto right now, losing the best player in the NBA? And look at the job Nick Nurse has done. They're 41-15 with no Kawhi Leonard the whole season. And now Nick Lowry is out. He's injured.
Okay, Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. What did I say? Nick Nurse, Kyle Lowry. Yeah. Lowry's out and injured. But, I mean, let's talk about the 76ers. It's time to just tear this down and start rebuilding.
Well, on the 76ers, they began to tear that down when they got rid of JJ Redick. I mean, what are you thinking?
They got rid of Jimmy.
You got rid of JJ Redick. Jimmy Butler. And so once you start getting rid of those guys and you start leaning on a Ben Simmons who couldn't shoot a jump shot to save his life,
right?
Joel Embiid who was very injury prone,
overpaid Al Horford who only averaged 14 points and 12 rebounds, and you backed up the Brinks truck and gave him everything. I mean, that was dumb. Exactly.
So once you start doing that, and then you paid what's the guy Tobias. Tobias Harris, you paid him all this money. He's not panning out as well. So,
how about 9-20 on the road this season?
Well,
and they're a 5th seed. So where are they going to be in the first round? On the road.
Exactly.
That's the end of that.
Pretty much.
How about the process is over? You got to melt this whole thing down. You way overpaid for Ben Simmons. I can't even get into this right now because it's so galactically stupid. Chris, what else is going on in the world of sports?
Okay, what's going on in the world of sports? Okay, for the 5th and 6th time of this season, can we get some competent referees in NBA games? I'm getting so tired of seeing this at the last second, them screwing up a game. Last night, you had the Atlanta Hawks playing the Dallas Mavericks, and you had a referee botch a goaltend and actually allow Atlanta to actually score on a goaltend that put Atlanta up basically 111 to 107, and that ended up being the game. Of course, we got to do something about that. Silver, we got to get these referees under control. Yes, you got to get them under control. I mean, these guys are horrible. I can't say no more, man.
The last 5 years, I've seen so many phantom fouls. It's just stupid. And by the way, maybe you're going to be happy, but I'm not. My week just got ruined. The Celtics lost 112-114 to the Lakers. I hate the Lakers more than life itself, which I love life, but I hate the Lakers. And I can't. The only redeeming quality of this is we only lost by 2. I had the Celtics plus 10.5 on a teaser. So my Celtics made me some money. And when the Lakers came to Boston, we blew them out by over 30 points. That music can mean only one thing, folks. It's time to thank our support staff. The man on the board, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, my man on the left over here, Chris Roberts, El Presidente Chet 40 for all of us here in the first round. Join us right here Wednesday night live on YouTube, talking about everything going on in the world of sports. Until then, take care, everybody.